Hello, students. Welcome back. Hopefully, you had a good Thanksgiving vacation. And let's go ahead and get started right away. On today's assignment, we already finished almost everything. Now we're going to go ahead. Today's activity is going to be on estimating percents. Estimating percents is actually kind of easy with the strategies that we're going to give you right now. So let's go ahead and get started here. Percent diagrams. How can I use multiple representations to solve real-world problems about percents? 1/4 students in Ms. Singh's music class chose a guitar as their favorite musical instrument. There are 24 students in Ms. Singh's music class. How many students chose a guitar as their favorite musical instrument? Well, remember that we always have to focus in our quantities here. There are 24 students in Ms. Singh's class. And then underline the actual question. This is what they want us to know. Now, what do you know? Well, we know that 1/4 of Mrs. Singh's class chose guitar as their favorite instrument. That's what we know. And we also know that there are 24 students in her music class. Okay, so those are the two things that we know. That 1/4 like guitar, and that there are 24 students in her class. What do you need to find? Well, we need to find how many students chose guitar as their favorite instrument. That's what we need to find out. So let's go ahead and give you a strategy for finding percents with percent bars. Bar diagrams can be used to represent a part to whole as a fraction and as a percent. The bar diagram represents 100% of the class. Shape the bar diagram to show that 1/4 or 25%, because we know that 1/4 is equivalent to 25 hundredths, which we know is equivalent to 25%. The class chose guitar as their favorite instrument. Okay, so here if you draw yourself a bar diagram that represents, let's say over here represents 0%, and over here represents 100%, that will be your whole. Okay, that means that this part, it seems like they broke this already into 4 equal parts. The reason why they broke it into 4 equal parts is because we want to know what 1/4 is. So if you want something in fourth, you have to cut your percent bar into 4 equal pieces. Then we know that this represents 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So the step 2, there are 24 students in Ms. Singh's music class. Divide the number of students equally into 4 sections. Now, why do we want to divide that into 4 equal sections? Well, because we want 1/4 of something. So when you divide something by 4, that tells you how many 4s can fit into that part, and that gives you 25% of it. Fill in the number section on the bottom. Here we go. So we still got our bar here that represents 100. So this represents 0 students, and this represents 24 students, the total, as you can see here. Okay, well, if you break 24 students and you break them into 4 equal pieces, basically means that you have to divide 24 by 4. So 24 divided by 4 That's 6. That means that each of these sections has to be worth 6. 6 students, students. So now all that has to add up to 6 times 4 is 24, which means that 1/4 or 25% of 24 is 6 students. So then you can say, so 6 students chose guitar as their favorite musical instrument. So it's pretty self-explanatory. If you draw yourself a percent bar that represents 100% of what you got, and then if they want 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, or any fraction, you could basically cut that percent bar into those many pieces and divide your whole number, which we did here, our 24, by those pieces that you broke it into, and that will give you each section. Let's say they asked us for 50%. Well, then you know that 25% plus another 25%, that's 50%. So you would say, oh, 12 students is 20. What if they ask you for 75%? Well, you know that 25, 25, and 25 is 75%. So up to there, you would say, well, let's see, 6, 12, that's 18 students. That would be 75% of 24. So that's basically the how a percent bar works. Let's go to the next page. Answer activity 2. There are 500, let me get a color here. There are 500 7th grade students at Heritage Middle School. 60% of them play a musical instrument. How many 7th grade students play a musical instrument? Well, they tell us basically the answer, but not really. I mean, they told us that 60% of them play a musical instrument, 60% of 600. Well, we want to know what the actual number of students is, not in percent form, but in actual number of students. So supply the missing information for the second bar. So here's our percent bar, right? Here, 0%, 100%. Number of students, well, 0 students represents 0%. And 100% of the students, well, that would be your 500. 500 total students. Divide each bar into 10 equal parts. Well, why do we want to divide that into 10 equal parts? Well, the reason for that is because it seems that 60%, up at the actual question, 60% is a multiple of 10. So it would be better for us and much easier to break this into 10 equal parts, because 10 equal parts, that will give you your percents, right? And if you add 6 equal parts, then that will give you your 60%. Now, why don't we want to break it into 30 parts, into other parts like that? Well, remember, you got to make your number compatible with the number that they ask you. And 10% is very compatible with 60%. So that's what they did here, 10%. So 10% of students should be how many? So then it says here, divide into 10 equal parts, write 10% in each section. So then 10% of the students will be what? Then you have to take your students, your 500 students, and divide that by 10. That would give you 50. So that means that 10% represents 50 students. 50 students out of 500. Now, next step. Determine what number to write in each section of the second bar. Well, if 10%, looks like we already did it here, that would be 50 students out of 500 students. All right, so we know that 10% is 50 students. So it says, shade 60% of the first bar and equal amount on the second bar. So if we break this into 10 equal pieces, seems like that right here. Let's do this. That's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. Okay, so we know that every one of these little square has to measure the same thing. 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. We also found out that each percent is worth 50 students. So this will be 50, 50, 50, 50. So if you add up all those 50s, you get 100, 200, 300 students. 300 students represent 60% of 500 students. I hope this is making sense, because all we did here is we broke your percent bar into 10 equal pieces, because 10 equal pieces are very easy to add up to 60. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, which is what they wanted us to find. If they wanted us to find 30%, then you would say 10 and 30. 30% would be 150. 20%, 100. 10%, 50. If they wanted 70%, then you could say, oh, add 50 more. Oh, 350. What about 80%? Then you add the 50 more. And so far until everything adds up to 500 students. Okay? So since 25% corresponds to 6 sections, no, this is incorrect. Since 60% corresponds to 6 sections, count the number of students in 6 sections. There are 300 7th grade students who play a musical instrument. And that's how you would answer the question. Okay? So this is just to get you going on estimating percents so that you are able to get a percent of almost any number. And this, by writing this percent bar, it makes it very, very, very easy to more or less estimate. But when you're dealing with real numbers like this, like easy numbers, whole numbers, then your estimation is actually the correct answer. Okay, that's enough for this video. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.